Hello, and welcome to another wonderful episode of Submitted for Your Approval, the weekly card review show for Collective, the community-created card game where you make the cards. And no, friends, we are actually still a show. I'm joined today by my faithful co-host, Grief.
Howdy, folks.
And before you all get scared that he has lost his lovely locks, he's just tied them back. He has all the hair he normally has. Joining me today also is my slightly brooding co-host, Empty Folder.
Hello, everyone.
Your lights are a little dark today.
That's it.
There we go.
That's the other option.
Yeah, that's still don't work. Anyways, jumping straight into it, these are accepted cards, so you can put these in decks if you want. Chromatic Egg is a 1-drop neutral 0/2 dragon egg from Chromosome. With this is your affinity. Off affinity dragons cost 1 less, and awaken 3 transform. It transforms into the Chromatic Dragonling, which is a dragon from Saga. 1 cost neutral 3/3 with flying, and this is your affinity, and off affinity dragons cost 1 less. So I like this because this sort of pairs into like Rainbow Ramiro and some other stuff, and basically people are trying to push for Kill Me Dragons or just off affinity dragons. I thought this was a really nice touch. I mean, just having one of these for a specific tribe creates a very, very strong build around for a rainbow version of that tribe. And so I think this is really, really neat. Grief, what do you think of this?
The only weird part is like the realm thing, but okay, I guess.
It's Chromosome. They always do the whole like steely whatever. I don't know. Yeah. I don't like that bit either. But it's whatever. MG, what do you think?
I mean, the design is like quite nice.
Yeah.
Honestly, the realm bit is like the only weird thing about the card. Like it seems decently strong. I mean, even on its own, like, yeah, you do have to wait a few turns, but ending up with a 3/3 with flying for 1 mana at the end of everything, if you have like a deck that can afford to play a bit slower, like that's pretty nice. And KM usually does pretty good against aggro, so giving up your 1-drop isn't that much of a cost as opposed to the other characters.
Yeah, and yeah, there's definitely a lot of cool things you could potentially do with this. It being at 1 also means that there might be some potential for like copying it or something, which could be really cool, where your off affinities are cheaper than your on affinities. And I think we have stuff to like dig up 1 costs, or we might have stuff to like dig up dragons and then get other copies of this out, and that would be really, really cool. So I like this. I think this is neat. So Grief, you're not excited about the possibility of a 3-color dragon deck?
Oh, I am. I just don't really care about the egg.
Oh, okay. The Solitary Traveler is a 1-drop strength 3/2 human from Saga. Destroy this if you control other units, and entomb, draw a card. So this is actually a very, very neat tool for something like a Helde Magro type thing, where you get this thing out, and then you got a 3/2 thing, and then if it dies, you draw a thing. Or I don't know. There seems like a lot of potential in this. It's a very, very nice utility card that could slot into a lot of strength decks potentially, because it's a very, very worst scenario. You just play this because that's not a triggered ability. It's not triggered on playing other units. That's triggered on having other units. So you play this and you already have a unit. It's just a free draw. So a little bit of cycling stuff and a little bit of entomb procking. This seems really, really neat. MT, what do you think of this?
Man, I would have loved to see this post rotation. I feel like now decks are very refined, so it's going to be hard for this to find a home. But post rotation, this would have been awesome. It benefits a ton from the immediate like action buff as well. But the design is like awesome. This is the exact type of card you want to have as Heldem. It's like good statted 1-drops that your opponent doesn't want to remove, because you really want to be getting your XP early as much as possible. The downside is definitely like pretty big, but having that like 1 mana being able to draw a card as a backup is really nice.
Yeah, this would work a lot better if we had like a second main phase, right? If we had a second main phase, this would be like the best card in the world. Like after combat, drop something, get to attack with it once and then play another thing just to cycle it. That would have been great.
The main thing is that you need to find a non-unit play for your 2-drop as Heldem if you're going to run this, because you want to get that first swing in.
You do about to snap. And you have this attack as a 7/5 that's gonna die anyway. No, Grief, what do you think?
I actually love About to Snap. I run that in like all my Heldem decks. But if you're playing About to Snap on 2, you actually play on your opponent's card just to out-tempo them. It's really funny.
Grief, what do you think of this?
Really clean and simple design. Yeah, it would be better post-rotation, considering the fact that, well, suggestions are still open for the core set. I don't really think this is a core set-ish card, but it's pretty cool. And actually opens up a very neat interactions with stuff like About to Snap, to actually have it swing first, buff it in the same turn, so on and so forth. Just a very cool design. Good showing.
Yeah, I hard disagree. I think this would be great for the core set. Okie dokie then. The Face Snapper is a 5-drop strength 5/4 Fish Demon Horror from Saga with Agile Overrun and entrance destroy each player's lowest attack unit. Now, truth be told, I think the reason this got in, a lot of people looked at the art and upvoted it. I know I did. This could be the most busted card in the game, and I just trusted to hit us on the upvotes because Spikebird did the impossible and figured out a way to get the face bitter meme into the actual game. And for that, I'm eternally grateful. We might as well end the show here. This is the best card. No. Really cute. Agile Overrun 5/4. I mean, it's got a lot of good stuff for just aggro decks. Also has the potential to destroy decks that are running just a couple utility units or running really low on units. Overall, it's a very neat utility card, and I really like it. And I really love the reference to collective sort of community and culture and history. Grief, what do you think of this?
This is more of a core set card.
Yeah.
Very simple, not really aggro, but more mid-rangey. Drop this on turn 4 to 5. Remove the lowest attack monster on your opponent's side. Yeah, you remove one of yours as well, but due to the post-rotation action economy on how units function, this is way better. It also gives you overrun, so even if they have a blocker, this actually gets damage through. And with a 5/4 body, it's actually pretty decent. And it's an entrance effect, so you can technically flicker it, reanimate it, so on and so forth.
Yeah. MD, what do you think of this?
Yeah, I mean, not only is the art like a great use of the face bitter meme, it's also just like really good. And on top of that, like the design is just like a really solid, like Grief said, this could be a core set card. It's just a really clean design. It would be cool if I don't think we have a ton of eggs for this to crack, but this would be like a perfect egg cracker because you dump one of your opponent's thing and this will always hit your egg because eggs have 0 attack.
Hear me out. I want a mega cycle. I just want a face bitter like thing from every realm. Just face devour.
That's too much face bitter.
I know.
Face Annihilator from Reverse Skulls, and
I was actually more thinking this could actually be played in Demons.
Yeah, well, the other thing is, yeah, the tribe line is nothing to be. I mean, Fish is maybe a little quirky, but still good. Demon is interesting. Horror could potentially be interesting. Definitely really good on the tribe line. I would actually say that go so far as to say that's one of the more interesting parts of the card. So moving on, the Corpse Collector is a 2-drop Spirit 3/2 undead from nowhere in particular. With Entomb, create a copy in hand of another random undead in graveyard. So way back in the day, I used to build Baluk Undead with Unburial Sight and what is it, Vigma and all that stuff back before the nerf. And I don't know, this thing's kind of sending me back. This is really cute. The only thing is it's random, and it's sitting at 2, so it's not doing too hot. I want to love this card. Empty, what do you think of this card?
It just, the random like really kills it. It's really hard to do synergy with a random effect like this. And this is sort of this like, I mean, the main benefit for something like this, as opposed to using like Coffin, is that you get a body. And the body is like just not, it's not very good, and you have to wait for the entomb, which makes it more difficult to use. It's just a rather low synergy card that it fits into a deck that I don't think really has much potential before rotation.
I think it would be, like post roto and post rule changes would be a lot different, because just having,
Yeah, it'd be super different.
Yeah, being able to slap down a 3/2 with a good entomb like that would actually be a really, really solid design. But as is, between the random and the all that stuff, it's just a little too clunky, I think.
Yeah, like the way the action economy works right now with the not ready, like the earliest you can have a relevant unit from this is like turn 4. Because yeah, turn 2 you play this, can't do anything. Turn 3 it dies. Turn 4 you play the thing. You still can't attack or block with it yet unless it has agile or ambush.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, I want to love it. It looks really neat, but it's just, I don't know. Maybe I would definitely resub post rotation. Grief, what do you think?
Corset. Corset or limited card, considering it kind of in a draft format it would replace itself, quote unquote. Gives you card advantage. In post rotation in a Corset, this would actually be an interesting, not Baldwin, Hawkins card, as well as a neat way to actually give Aggro Bullock some more steam to go further, depending on the kinds of card you're already playing. Outside of that, yeah, it's it's in the weird spot where it's before rotation, does not have a room right now anywhere, but post rotation this could see use, but on legacy it's kind of questionable. So if this card gets in, I can actually see this being a very decent suggestion for a Corset.
Definitely. The Codeblock Buffer is an 8-drop strength 3/12 software golem from Uplink with Life Bond Ward. This can block up to 3 attacking enemy units, active silence a unit, and choose a different golem to revive and entrance ready this. Little quirky, just kind of quirky in general. But it blocks, if it could multi-block, and it has Life Bond, and I'm guessing unlike attacks where you have to split the damage, Life Bond you would just stack the damage. You deal 3 to each thing it's blocking, right? So that would be cool. But I could be wrong about that. I don't know. Active silence a unit is pretty good. Why is this sitting at 0? Grief, I'll let you talk first.
First of all, no, it does not stack. It deals its damage similar to other card games where, yeah, if you have a 3 HP unit and you still block 3 units, you're dealing 3 damage to the 3 HP unit and no damage to the rest. So Life Bond doesn't work. The extra ward is kind of weird considering, okay, cool. It has silence a unit, so basically you slap this down considering it enters play readied. Your opponent gets at least 1 chance to get off the ward, then this silences a unit. Then you choose a golem to revive. Basically, you can even chain into them, get other. It's a weird support card that I have.
Well, you have to choose different, so you can't just chain in your
No,
Oh,
and
you're
I
buffed.
can chain technically into what was the other card that copies golems or
I mean,
whatever.
it's code block. Like,
It's
if you're reviving a unit, you can get a copy of this in some weird way.
Ah,
I don't really have too much of an insight into co-blocks anymore because I've kind of given up on tracking that. And in all honesty, I think I'm just at the point like maybe that's also the reason why it's at 0. I don't really care. Because I don't really see the need of this outside of maybe the archetype itself, but what does this serve for the larger card pool as a whole, besides being big big HP dingus with life bonded warp?
yeah, I do. I do agree with you in that the direction seems weird to immediately grasp when reading the card, and so it's kind of that too many words fatigue type thing that happens with a lot of these kind of designs. Has a lot of stuff slapped on there, and I can't really piece together like heads or tails of what the intended play pattern is because I don't really play strength. Like, I don't know. I can't find a lot of strength decks that excite me. Empty, what do you think of this?
Yeah, I have to agree with you there. It's like a lot of words, and at the same time, it's too similar to like we have an 8-drop like this for both the other affinities at this point. It's like 8 mana, it has some sort of protection, entrance ready this, and then it has an ability to like get rid of a unit. Like we have the Zickus, we have this, we have the Cobalt guy. I can't remember his name. Like we've seen this sort of design before. And I would really like to see something more unique for code blocks to like ramp out into, rather than just another one of these 8 mana removal engines that doesn't have that much else going for it.
Okay. So yeah, best of luck to you, Wooyak. I know you really want to get this off the ground, so let's I don't know, maybe see some changes. Or if you're really that adamant about it, maybe wait till after rotation and see if we're just really starved for a good top end.
That level of code blocks will be gone.
Well, I mean, just having a reliable source of silence is not that bad, right? And if there's even 2 golems, they don't have to be cold blocks, just some sort of golems in row. The Hyv Scout is a 3-drop strength 3/2 alien from Carthian with overrun and attune. Create a Hive Grunt, give ally aliens +1 attack. A Hive Grunt is a 2/1 neutral overrun alien. So Filthy Casual, who submitted the original Hive card that's already gotten in, came to me one day and had an idea about a new group of aliens to invade, and I would already been sort of planning something in the like in the back end. So I was like, why don't we work together on this? And so we created the saga where this thing comes from, or the invasion where this thing comes from. And we started just working on a couple designs together with some art and some other support. And these are the Hive. So where the Gralix are supposed to sort of the subverted expectation, the nice aliens that are subverting the alien invader trope. These guys play it straight, and they're more a reference to some other direct things, but their whole deal is that they are ridiculously malicious and bloodthirsty, sort of parodies of the Gralix, as you will. Sort of like, that's also why they have 3 eyes as opposed to 4. But yeah, the people who have been doing the art for these, which is not me, have been doing amazing jobs. I absolutely love Space Turtle's work here. I like Filthy's work on some of the other ones that we're gonna that we've had coming through. This is just a good generic lord effect. Because it, you play this and then it dies and then you get another. It sticks around. It's a sticky kind of unit. But if you have multiple aliens, then the things can get really out of hand. Empty, what do you think of this?
Yeah, well, so this on its own is just like a perfectly fine design. But it, like, as we go through the other cards, I want to ask you like what the design direction that you're going for the Hive is, because we have like some more sticky units. And strength isn't really like, they don't usually have sticky units. That's not really their thing. So having an archetype that like does that and have a lot of like self-revive and entomb mechanics, which could be really cool, because that's usually Blue's thing.
They're sacrificial murder hobos. So they like blood. They're blood sport kind of. They're angry. They're angry and violent aliens is their whole deal. So death and lots of death and procking off of death and caring about things dying and Grief, what do you think of this?
I mean, this kind of serves double duty. You can play them in Heldem for the aggressive playstyle, or you can even go with Baldwin because this is alien tribal. So you can probably, depending on how those tools actually get into the game, even expand on the idea of the aggressive red aggro alien archetype. Maybe even KM if a more supportive aliens are in different colors or affinities that you want to play with them. You have to harmonize stuff from the Gralax aliens, which are either neutral or blue, and so on and so forth. So you probably can find something interesting in there, and having generic Lord effects, or even sticky self-replacing units on the board, it will just help that playstyle out even more. I kind of see a good future for this archetype.
Yeah, it is very much a group effort, a lot more than some of the things I've done. And I'm excited to see where it goes. I'm very glad that Space Turtle decided to hop on the bandwagon here. Barbarian's Rage is a 2-drop strength action from Saga with give a unit +2 attack, then choose a unit to deal 2 damage to. Now, I just want to say this might be the greatest AI art piece I've seen in terms of just like, I can't believe that a human didn't draw this. This is really, really good. I absolutely love this piece. And it's from Midjourney too, which I'd kind of been losing faith in. But yeah, so this kind of evokes, so this is a really, really powerful thing for 2. I'm actually a little worried about the power because it's not only a 2 damage for 2, but you also get like a buff, and I don't know. I personally feel this is too powerful, but it's sitting at 5, so it might just get in. So are we just sort of like ramping things up? Grief, what do you think of this?
I think this is kind of like, as you said, ramp things up in terms of being a buff that deals damage, because you can also buff buff one of your attackers, kill one of the units on your opponent's side, and turn 1 to 2, and then just straight up hit face. Especially post rotation, this will be way better. So this has actually legacy viability in terms of that. Depending on how fast the format will become post rotation, where buffs like these could maybe be potentially good or not, depending on how that looks like. Outside of that, it's just actually a good card. Will probably be nerfed to a 1 damage ping or just a 1 stat buff or whatever, but we shall see.
I could see it at 3 costs, but I also see what you're saying.
3 costs is a lot. I mean, it's pretty comparable to hit and run. Like, yeah, you're getting the value in a different spot, like on board instead of hand, but it's also like just attack.
Yeah.
Honestly, the main thing I'm excited about with this card is that we have a card that's like really good for target synergy decks that lets them actually interact with the board at the same time. Like, this is going to be amazing for target synergy decks because they really like recurring these target actions over and over again, which is awesome because that means you can like actually have a reliable set of removal while you're buffing up your units, which is something the deck has always struggled with.
Cool. The Crimson Cracker is a 6-drop strength 2/2 robot vampire from Mortstall, Realm of the Dead Things. With entrance, choose an ally unit. That unit deals 2 damage to all players and units. So yeah, okay. I think Corn alredy knows why this is sitting at 0. This was sitting at 0, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Too much. The fact that you could just do this, slap it on a deadly and have a board wipe, or slap this on a lifebound and gain potentially upside is 44 life. 11 times 2 times 2. Yeah, 44 alive. Too much. And even there's potentially weirder things you could do with some older cards where you probably do even worse with it. I mean, a single slay trigger, right?
Yeah, there's definitely OTK potential with this.
Yeah, okay. Here's Stranger's crack combo idea. So you run this with Sam the Ram. No. And you give him deadly somehow. Oh no, because then because if you give something deadly, this will wipe that too, because it also deals the 2 to itself.
Yes.
So there's that to consider. I think we all know why this is so powerful. Like, is there any hope? There's probably no hope to be had for this.
Nope.
Empty, there's no hope to be had for this.
It's a really hard kind, because I mean, I'm fine with having this sort of like combo card in the game. It's just like you have to balance that at like such an insanely, like, you need to up the cost or something.
Mhm.
You really need to balance this around the fact that, like, if you have I'm not sure exactly all the effects we have in standard, but any type of like Lazabo Firestarter effect, where you can turn damage on board and a damage in your opponent is just like an instant kill. So you really have to take that into account with this sort of design.
Yeah. I don't know. Green, if you have any more thoughts on this design?
To be honest, this card does so many things so wrong because it actually has such a large impact on the board. The way to fix is like downscale this to like a 4 to 5 drop and only hit like people's faces.
Mhm.
Because at that point, yeah, sure, you still have the synergies with Life Bond and the occasional trigger on if this unit deals damage to a player or whatever, but you don't have the gross impact of like, oh yeah, now I get like 20 HP. Nice.
Oh no, you run this off Affinity with Lisa Tap Soul Claimer. And then you deal
so excessive.
Like
because then you kill all your own units, and then you get copies of your own dukes too, because your dukes are like big mom.
This thing cannot hit the board, either be a freaking board wipe based on this card. Like if this would say, okay, deal 2 damage to all units and all players, being a 6/6 for being a 6 mana 2/2, okay, I could live with that even more. But picking a unit and it dealing damage with all its effects being intact is kind of stupid.
Yeah.
Either hit only face or be a generic pyromania effect.
I would want this. I'm the kind of guy who would advocate for like cost this at 10. Keep all the other text intact.
No, at that point it's useless.
Well, yeah,
that's why it's so hard to balance.
No, it's very useless.
It would be useless at 10. That's too slow.
Okay. Like
even in a Timmy mindset, I would say this is stupidly overcosted at 10.
Yeah, or I don't know. Okay, doke. Okie dokie then. We're actually in Empty's picks. Grief elected to just do 2 picks. The Hyv Exsanguinator is a 5-drop strength 0/1 alien knight from Carthian with Harmonize and Entrance, destroy an enemy unit with less attack. So this is so the Growlix integrate themselves into other groups with their shape-shifting abilities, and the Hive are supposed to be more parasitic, so they care about aliens. Which is so their Harmonize is basically we strengthen numbers. There's a lot of us and we're gonna kill you. So yeah, that's kind of where this is sitting at design-wise. Great work from Filthy on the art. And this is, again, I just love the sort of the visual design that she landed on for the Hive. It's just beautiful. Empty, you actually get to go again. What do you think of this?
So it's like a perfectly fine and like good design for the this like new alien tribe, and sort of sets up what they want to be doing. But it's really weak. It really needs some extra stats, especially some attack. So it's just going to be so hard for this to be able to kill anything reasonable. And then, like, if your opponent is doing their job and controlling your board, this is just going to be a really unfortunate top deck if you end up having to play this in late game.
I mean, I agree with you. I think we originally slotted this in as like a 1-2 at 4 or something like that, or maybe a 1-1 at 4, with thoughts that we would submit this a little bit later, and then Filthy decided to just submit these things all at once. So you say leave it at 5 and more stats would be the way to go?
For a 1-1 would be fine. Either like a good bit more stats, or a cost reduction and a little bit more stats. But it's doing pretty well, so maybe just buff it up if it gets in.
Yeah, or
we have the slots.
I mean, you know, there's still a little bit of a wait and see factor if we get to, depending on how many Hyv get in. We might be able to see enough of them get in to where they can establish a presence all on their own. Grief, what do you think of this?
I mean, until aliens have a deck that actually wants this to be played, I think the only hope for it right now is KM Knights.
Well, that's the other thing is that was the thought is
it's a knight because you can actually give it duelist and +1 attack. So it's at least a 1-1 with duelist. With harmonized, it's actually decent. And with knights, you can reduce its cost thanks to bury or ramp into it via sickle. And maybe that makes it playable, but outside that, because let's be honest, because it's currently better than Buck, and Buck is kind of the high cost knight, and everything better than Buck is already good.
It's competing with Blitz and Donner, because you don't want to have like a whole bunch of units that you want to put the that want the duelist buff for KM. And Blitz and Donner is like amazing with the duelist buff.
Blitz and Donner is the best for that. It's like a side option. It's worse than Blitz and Donner because it has less of a removal. But it's technically one more removal in your deck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And since you will probably already have like 3 to 4 knights on the board when you drop this, that means okay, cool. This has maybe a buff from KM, so 1 plus the 5 knights on the board. That's 6. Everything that has 6 or less attack is dead. I'm sorry, that has 5 or less attack is dead. So this hits a pretty large margin, and post rotation this gets better.
Yeah, that was the thought, is that since I was wanting to have them sort of have like a religious zealotry thing going on, to actually have them be ordained knights. And I thought that was actually clever because it gave it a niche while aliens were being built up. I wanted mostly to talk about it in context of the alien deck, but I'd totally forgotten I'd done that specifically because I knew there's fun stuff going on in the night deck.
So okay, just future projection. Vujek, when is Night Link being a thing in collective? Okay, we can move on to the next card.
Okie dokie then. The Render of Flesh is a 2-drop strength 4/3 Lizaba from Unguia with summon dual unit and slay, create a neutral bloody stream for your opponent. So this is really quirky in a lot of different ways. This is a new designer. So you don't actually want to kill something with it, air quotes, because you're giving your opponent a really, really powerful source to deal damage and get life back. And it's forced to duel on when it enters. I just feel that this is just awkward all around. I want to like this design, but it's just kind of hard for me to see why people would want to run this. Grief, what do you think of this?
This is one of the worst drawback high stat-ish kill units that I've seen so far. Not the worst, but one of the worst. Nothing against the design particular. It's more like, as you said, there's too much kind of going on against this card, because it's forced to duel, which is cool because you always want to have on Enter Duelist for removal on sticks. For 2 mana, hitting 4 damage. That's a very large HP pool that you can hit off. Yeah, sure, you're giving your opponent a card, which is kind of, yeah, card advantage, negative, just a card advantage negative for you, but you control the board. Mostly you can also get out of it card advantage neutral because this has 3 HP. But then again, what you're giving them is Bloody Stream, which digs them into better answers against you, has Life Bond, and deals direct damage to the opponent. So you cannot actually hit the Render of Flesh, but Render of Flesh at the moment when it actually drops the board and survives, you don't really want to run with it into combat because you have the potential of killing another card.
Yeah. So I'm actually going to go ahead and I'm going to propose a suggestion. If the designer has their heart set on having this whole create a new, have a chance of a drawback thing, I would say fold this Slay into the summon where the only way to trigger this Slay is with this summon.
Ah, no. Are you kidding me? This is already pretty good. Like,
Yeah.
the other reason I think this isn't getting very many upvotes is because Second Sunrise exists. Like,
yeah.
the tempo this card generates in a Second Sunrise deck is so good that a lot of times you don't care about the Bloody Stream. Like, you want your opponent in a Second Sunrise deck, you want your opponent to just be hitting you with face damage. Like, that's wasted mana. It doesn't do anything. The way you're going to win is either by getting your pharaohs out, in which case every turn your opponent spends just focusing your life total. As long as you don't lose and you get the pharaohs out, you win anyway. And this generates triggers for it. Yeah. And then on top of that, like, the tempo this generates is nutty. Like, being able to have your 2-drop kill your opponents and live, like, that's so much tempo that at a certain point, like, you're just going to run down your opponent before they can play their Bloody Streams. And every turn they're focusing on just upping their life total, they're just stalling. They're not actually going anywhere. And each turn they stall, you're getting closer to Sunrise.
Okay.
Yeah, that's true.
I see. Yeah, you're right. I misevaluated this. Fair. I guess this is one of those things, and this happens a lot with Collective, where you have 2 different groups of people disagreeing with the card for 2 different reasons. One group doesn't like drawbacks and just is like, yeah, this is a thing with a drawback, never mind. And the other one is like, oh, if I run this with the decks that are in the meta, I would crush. So
yeah, that's why we have a large panel. I mean, who knows? It's not like I know for sure. Maybe this would get in people trying Sunrise and be terrible.
well, yeah. I mean, Bloody Stream's still pretty. It's not Lightning Helix from Magic.
Yeah.
It's.
Oh man, that would make the card bad.
Yeah, because this is deal 2 damage to your opponent, and so they're not gaining any board advantage from it. Yeah, that's one thing I sort of neglected about that. So yeah, overall I do agree with you now that I see it, that it's a power problem for the most part, but I would still imagine some people don't like it for the other reason as well. But that's kind of how Collective works. I still have high hopes. I would love to see more from this designer, or maybe for this, maybe a tweak to help it.
It's a really cool design.
Oops.
Oh.
There we go. The Hyv Swarmling is a 1-drop strength 2/1 alien from Carthian. With Entomb, you may pay 1 mana to create a copy of this. So this is the death and destruction side of the Hive. They just want things to, they like death and they crave death, and they turn death into resources. Particularly to go with the we wanted to see some low drops for them, and we had a couple different ideas we were kicking around. And one of them was that the invasion force, is the whole entrance. You may sacrifice a non-raider to create a copy of this. Having a good fodder unit for that would be nice, and just having a good way to keep some aliens present on the board would be nice, because they care about aliens. So, Empty, what do you think of this?
I like the idea behind this. I feel like I could use a little bit more. Like maybe ready the copy or give the copy +1/+1, something to make it more favorable to be putting more mana into this thing. Since like killing it, it saps your mana and it's not going to be doing anything that turn too. And playing 1 mana 1/2s like it's not that, especially since you don't really have a choice on the timing of it. Like when it dies, you have to be ready to spend that 1 mana, and I don't think that's going to happen that often. So throwing in a little bit of extra incentive to spend that extra mana and get the copies might have been nice, but it's a cool design.
Grief, what do you think of this?
This is one of the cards that gets worse post rotation because turn 1 there's no real value that you gain out of the mana sink ability of it. This feels more like a draft card where, yeah, okay, well, the game mode is slower. You have to actually, you can actually use it as a mana sink going forward to stall out specific blocks and so on and so forth. But in collective, I cannot really see something like that really having legs. Post-rotation or pre-rotation, considering the fact that, yeah, it's kind of a useless mana sink. You cannot use it for sacrifice interactions. It's an occasional okay-ish blocker. It probably dies when you use when your opponent use a random board wipe or stuff like Acid Rain, which is in the core sets, at least from the core set suggestions. So yeah, it's a cute card, but I don't really see many uses out of it. Maybe with more Lord effects surrounding it, but yeah, the 1 mana cost to create a copy of it is kind of a huge ask for what you're getting out of it.
Yeah, so time will tell. We'll see how this sort of goes. And that is actually our last pick, so I'm gonna hold the chair. Grief says this was a slow week. I think this was a fun week, and maybe that's just because my aliens are taking over, but it'll actually be funny because if all the ones that are doing like 5 or better get in, they'll actually be more Hyv than Crocs cards if they get. So there's that. Thank you very much, Grief, for joining me today.
Always nice to be here. Always fun to talk.
And thank you, Empty, for joining us. I'm glad we were able to make it work out where we could still keep doing this.
Yeah, it's excellent. I'm really glad too.
Yeah. So like, comment, and subscribe. Remind me why I keep doing this, because I've forgotten. And keep on playing collective and keep on voting on cards. Bye.
See you.